Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen, other pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. So make sure you do stay to the end to find out which pair that is. But yeah, guys, before we do get into the video, I will go through my trades for the week. But if there is a specific pair you're looking for, feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps down below. But yeah, I did have one trade this week. I had one trade which I was carrying on from last week, which was NZD long. This one ended up in a break even. I was long from this hourly candle here, so that was last Friday. So I was carrying that over the weekend. The market was moving very sideways on me, as you can see, up, down, didn't really go anywhere. I was forming a lot of resistance around here. So I did manage to exit the trade at break even after this 4H candle here. The market also broke through the trend line, which was one of my buying confluences. So we broke through the trend line, create strong resistance to exit the trade for break even. Did manage to luckily avoid that loss there, but I still am looking for some longs for this pair. I do still expect the market to be heading back to those highs up there, and I'm looking to see if we can get some longs maybe next week if we come back and retest this structure. It's at resistance now, so it could just break through, but if it pulls back, I'll be interested around this 0.588 area. So I will keep an eye on NZD, but for that one, break even, and CHF JPY small winner on this one. Had a really nice trade from that high there after price reacted with this trend line and also coming into the broken support there, term resistance. So had some nice confluence around there and a nice fib level there as well. So a really nice move to the downside. I hit my first target, which was that resistance there, turn support, respected it and head back to the upside. It took me out on break even. So did manage to close some nice partials there, end up with a small win out the trade. I still do expect CHF JPY to head back down to these lows as long as we can maintain this bearish structure of lower low, lower high. So I do think market may run into the resistance again, into the trend line, and then react off it. Although it is this trend line here as well, connecting these two swing highs that the market could potentially push into as well. So I do expect, let me just change the color of that, I do expect the market to run into anywhere of these areas, form another low high and roll over. So I'm still going to be looking at shorting CHF JPY. Just need to wait for another good entry signal. But those are my trades for the week. So overall small profit, and we go into next week, which is looking very promising. So back to the trade. Back to analysis. EURUSD. So this one's still very corrective. To be honest, I'm not really looking at EURUSD much unless we break to the downside, and I'll start to look for a higher low to buy it back up again. But all we had this week for EURUSD was just consolidation, as we can see here. And again, very difficult to trade that unless you're moving the lower time frames, buying and selling at the highs and lows, taking advantage of the range, but well and truly it's not really worth my time. So I haven't really been focusing on EURUSD. It's just been moving sideways. I still do have a bullish bias for the pair. We can see on the higher time frames, daily, 4H, the market's still trending, giving us higher highs and higher lows. So if the market can break to the downside, there might be some short-term sell opportunities. So if you do something like this, break out, retest it, you might catch some nice short-term sells with that. And the reason why I say short-term sells is because the market is still creating overall higher highs and higher lows. You know, as we can see here, beautiful higher low, and again a beautiful higher low. So the chances are, if we do get that breakout to the downside, the market will probably head to the downside and give us another higher low to go back up again. So some short-term sells, taking advantage of that momentum after the breakout. But I do expect us, as long as we don't take out that higher low there, to form a higher low and push up further. And I'm looking at the market coming down into this area here. Lovely resistance, turn support in this level there. And also a beautiful fib confluence with the 0.618, as we can see over there. So this is where I'm looking at to buy EURUSD to take it back to highs again. So hopefully you can get a break to the downside to take advantage of those buys. Maybe those sells as well, probably to wait for the buys. But if you're looking for some sells, break out of that low, the consolidation does look good. Take the retest on 1.07840 and longs from 1.06346. But like I said, the market is still bullish, so I would naturally expect the market to move higher after the pullback. And there's also another chance we could just break to the upside. In that case, you can look for the retest of the highs and the continuation. But for me, I'll be waiting for a deeper pullback if I'm looking to buy EURUSD. So that's my outlook for EURUSD going into next week. We've got consolidation, so wait for the market to break through the highs or the lows. wait for your retest, take advantage of that momentum. If you're looking for the next major pullback, the next major swing low, I'm looking at it forming around this 0.618 fib level at 1.06400. So that's the plan for EURUSD. Still bullish bias as long as we don't take out that structure. So we'll see what happens next week with this one. Okay, so now onto USD JPY. So USD JPY is still pretty bearish for me. The market's still very consistent with the lower lows and lower highs, as we can see here. We've got low, lower high, low, lower high, low, lower high, low, equal highs there, but the lower high as well. Another lower low. So again, I'm looking for the next lower high for the continuation to the downside. I'm still looking at the weekly time frame, or weekly, monthly time frame for the next major target for this one, which is back at this level here. So that prior resistance broke through, no retest. I'm expecting the market to come and get the retest of that 126 area. So as long as we remain in this bearish structure of lower low and lower high, I do expect us to go and get a test of that 126 level. You can see we have this beautiful trend line here, consistently rejecting price 1, 2, and 3. I'm looking for us to come into that area again a fourth time. We've got a beautiful consolidation here, which we just about retested this week, which is what we were looking for, the retest of this level. However, we failed to clear the lows. We respected the lows and came up again. So if we can come up, have another drive into this level, reject that area with the trend line and the consolidation, I do think if we can get some good confirmation there, we'll probably get some really nice sell positions back down to the lows as the first kind of main target, because obviously that's where the market rejected previously. But well and truly, I do see us making some new lows into that 126 area. So as long as we maintain the structure, that is what I see happening for USD JPY. I'm still bearish bias. We're still very consistent with the lows and lower highs here. So all we're looking to do is just catch the next lower high and catch the next drive to the downside. If we break through structure, that's when we can start to reanalyze things and adjust and react. But as of right now, I'm looking at this 132 area, another drive into that level. I do think the market's likely to take out this wick high here. Reason I say that is because we've got this impulsive leg, retracement 1, retracement 2, giving us that bear flag pattern. And normally bear flags, we do take out the high, give us the flag like so. Now I expect the continuation to the downside into the 126 area. So that's the plan for USD JPY. Just going to be waiting for confirmation up around that 132 area with the trend line. Also some nice fib confluence, just to throw that in there, coming to 0.618 as well. So overall, looking very, very good for this pair. Looking at more downside, and hopefully you can go and hit 126 next week. Okay, so now onto USD CAD. So USD CAD this week, nice bullish push to the upside, retracement, and now I've seen the impulse momentum coming back down again. So I did miss this trade. I would have entered it, but the risk reward was not that favorable for me. Coming back down into this resistance here, the risk reward was about 1 to 0.79, and that's just not enough for me. However, as we can see, the market's still falling to the downside. So very, very nice push there for USD CAD. We are still looking for a push into these lows here. Obviously, we do have this support here, which will interfere with price because the market has consolidated there for a few times now. So we could see some rejection there again. But if you do break through, 1.325 is where I do see the market going. You can see the structure was pretty clear. We had the equal highs here, then we had the lower high, another lower high there as well. A lot of lower lows here, as we can see. So we can see the bears are starting to gain control because the market was consolidating, but now we are seeing the bearish pressure kind of take control and the market turn bearish. So this is where we're looking at price heading towards. For entries next week, I'm looking at a retest of this structure here because this is essentially, all our resistance here where the market kept selling from. This is kind of like a big fake out of that level. So you can come back and retest that, get some good confirmation to enter the trade. I do think we can sell off from that level back down again, see the next lower high, back down to these lows here. That will be a very nice trade. If we break through, then we could hit a home run back down there. So that's kind of the plan for USD CAD. Just maintain the seller's pressure, the seller's bias, and as long as we maintain the resistance here and not break out of it, because if we do, we could do something like this. So as long as we hold that level, we'll be looking for some sells, stop loss above the level, waiting for entries. Target can just be, play the range back into the low. But if you're looking to push trade a little bit further, we do have that low there that the market does have a good chance of come back to retest it. So that's the plan there for USD CAD. Looking at sells for next week, just playing with the overall structure of lower low and lower high, waiting for a pullback into a key area, waiting for that confirmation, and taking the shorts there to the downside. So 1.334 is the first target, second target 1.324 for next week. Okay, so now on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound is looking very, very ugly, I have to say. I mean, if I zoom out, look at the bigger picture, this to me just looks like one big consolidation here. So Euro Pound will definitely not be on my watch list going into next week. But if you are looking to trade, there's a few areas of value. Of course, we've got the highs up here, which is that resistance there. We've got the lows all the way down here, which is that support. So these are the key main areas in the market, the high and the low of the range, where naturally you want to be looking to sell at these highs unless we get a breakout, and naturally you want to be buying at these lows again unless we get a breakout. But there is this mid-level here which the market is still reacting to quite well, which on the low time frames you could get a nice bounce from. I wouldn't recommend holding trades here because this is where the maximum kind of indecision is in the market, so you could get a nice little bounce off that. But coming back into some of these areas here, prior support time resistance, I would recommend looking to at least manage the trade and take some positions off, or potentially just exiting the trade and walking away, because right now the market is fluctuating quite a lot and there's kind of no real trend to it. If we zoom out, you look at the bigger pictures where you can see it's just a very corrected market, and Euro Pound is typically like that. So coming into this key area here of 0.87, you can see the bounce of the market there, very nice bounce there as well. Multiple rejection there of support, multiple rejection there of resistance as well. So coming back down here, you probably could get a nice bounce to the upside, again waiting for some confirmation before looking to enter, and then potentially taking a trade back into this type of area here. Nice support there, as we can see. Nice resistance there as well. So that would be a nice little level in 0.87791. So that's kind of what I would look for Euro Pound if I was looking to trade this. I definitely am not looking to trade it, but if I was, that's what I would look for. We've obviously got the highs and the lows, so that's typically where I like to place my sells and my longs. There I know I'm protected with a good stop loss. Here there's indecision, the market can fluctuate. We potentially might get a bounce to the upside like this, and the market could still end up coming back down to these lows here. So Euro Pound for me is definitely a no-no, but if you are looking for just to catch a quick trade from these lows here, 0.87 does look like a good area for that, back up into that resistance there. So Euro Pound overall in a range, just take trades from areas of value, from areas to value, no real trend here. So we're really just trading support and resistance with confirmation. And yeah, this could be a nice little short-term trade for next week, so keep an eye out on that. Okay, so now on to AUD/USD. So AUD/USD is still quite corrected, but it's still definitely a bullish market. We can see the higher highs and the higher lows here. We did come into a very, very nice place just before the week ended on Thursday, I think it was. Bounce from there, really nice push to the upside into resistance. Now AUD/USD, I'm not really a fan of the buys, reason being it's quite corrective, and we are coming to some very, very good areas where I do think the seller's going to have to step back into the market. If we just look at the bigger picture, this is the monthly time frame, by the way, you can see the level we're trading at, very, very strong level. The market overall is quite bearish, and I do think if we can respect this level, we can see a big decline in price. I'm actually just getting ready for the shorts. There's other pairs that look a lot better for me in terms of longs and sells, so I'm mainly focused on them. I'm waiting for AUD/USD to give me the reversal signal. Right now, the reversal signal is not to be seen. Market's still looking bullish with the higher highs and higher lows. Very strong impulsive move here to the downside, so we are seeing some increased momentum from the bearish side of things, but we haven't taken out any key structure. Yes, we have taken out some of these minor lows here, but it's nothing too major. The market could definitely snap and start creating some higher lows and continue to the upside. So going to next week, buys is still your best bet because it's very, very corrective. I would wait for bigger pullbacks for this one. So if you were to come back and retest this structure as well, this also would be a very nice place to buy it back up again. If we start breaking through these lows, then that's when I start getting a little bit more interested for the sales. And until we start making some lower lows and lower highs, that's when I'll start jumping in for the reversal, which may not happen next week. It may take 2 or 3 weeks, who knows. So AUD/USD is still looking bullish here. If you are looking at buys back down at this level here, 0.68771 is a very, very key area to do that. You can see resistance there, support, support. And because it's very, very corrective, it means that we're likely to have deeper pullbacks as well anyway. So come back into this level here, monitor price action. The hourly probably is your best time frame for that, maybe the 30-minute if you want to maximize your risk to rewards. Back down to that area, and again, just taking it up back to resistance, back to highs. Depends where you want to take it to. Maybe the resistance will form over here. You've got the high over there, and obviously you've got the highs all up there, depending on your targets. But for now, I'm still bullish on AU, but I'm getting ready for that reversal. So that's what I'll be looking at for AUD/USD going into next week. Okay, so now on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD this week, strong momentum to the upside. I've been looking for bullish momentum for this one, and we finally got it this week. I said to you guys that coming into the week, I was a bit more neutral, kind of waiting for the market to go bullish because we had a lot of these sell-offs here, just followed by quick reversals by this bullish momentum. So I could tell the market is very having a very hard time trying to sell off, struggling. So I do think the buyers going to step back in, and we've had this huge impulsive move to the upside here. This could just be the correctional phase. So I was kind of looking for the bullish momentum to come back in this week, and it did with a lot of force. Now I'm just waiting for good opportunities to get back in that momentum and trade to the upside. Naturally speaking, we would have targets back at these highs all the way up there, 0.88. So for NZD CAD, this is the setup I'm looking at. We've got some really nice resistance here. We've got a beautiful fib around this level here as well, 0.618, as you can see, lovely meeting up with that level, and also this trend line here as well. So I'm looking for one more push to the downside, kind of giving us this bear flag retracement. So we've obviously got the impulsive leg, correction 1, correction 2, giving us that bear flag, test that level with the trend line and the fib level as well, and then looking for the continuation to the upside back to high. So that's what I'm looking at for NZD CAD. Pretty simple setup. You can see the clear structure, kind of a bowl shaped pattern almost. The market's gone from making lower lows, equal lows, now higher lows. So kind of a bowl shaped pattern there. Now looking for the next higher low for the continuation to the upside. As for targets, depending on risk reward, I may just keep it simple back to resistance. If that looks very probable and the risk reward's there, then I might push it up a little bit further. But if you can get a 1 to 3, 1 to 4, into that level with an entry round here, stop loss just underneath, I don't see much point trying to keep positions on and try and push it all the way to the level there. Just take the profit there, move on to the next trade. Maybe I might leave some to trickle, we'll have to see. But that will be the setup that I'm looking at for NZD CAD. So looking at buys, target area 0.858 for entries, TP 0.872 and maybe 0.878 there as well. But that is the plan for NZD CAD going into next week. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So pound NZD very chaotic this week. Really sharp breakout to the upside. However, a really sharp move break back down. So it looks like this may just be a big fake move in the market, just because looking at the characteristics of the move, impulse one way, impulse the other way. And again, taking out a lot of stop losses above all of these previous 4H highs here would have been taken out. So I do think this is potentially just a big fake move. I'm still pretty confident pound NZD will make it back down into this key level of support down here on the weekly and the higher time frame. So I'm still looking for this push here to the downside, and you can see we've had all these wicks here, continuous lower highs on the weekly, but this week here taken out a lot of stops, a lot of those highs, but it's pulled back underneath. So I do think next week we'll just roll back over, because now we've got the liquidity, and hopefully we can just finally break out of this corrective kind of nightmare here for pound NZD. So the bias going into next week is still pretty bearish. We're still looking at the market moving in this channel here. So as you can see, the lower lows and lower highs, we're looking for the push into that weekly level. Market consistent with the lower highs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This here, we're just going to ignore big fake move to the upside, grabbing liquidity. So looking for the market to get back underneath that trend line, back underneath that resistance, and actually just retest that for give us the lower high and then roll over to the downside. So that's the plan for pound NZD, looking for the shorts. If we, however, start pushing to the upside again and start using it as support, then of course we potentially got reversal and a breakout on our hands. But because of the sharp retracement back down, I would expect it to be very corrective coming back down, and then look for the impulse. The fact that we've had an impulse up and an impulse down tells me that this is potentially just a fake move in the market. So because of that, we're going to stick with that bearish bias going into next week. We've got a lovely level of resistance here. If I just remove that highlighter tool so you can see it clearly. Lovely level of resistance here around the 1.91865 mark. If you come back and retest that structure, retest the trend line, we're looking for the next lower high for some shorts back down to the lows. And now that I've got the liquidity, hopefully you can see some nice clean momentum, not too messy, and we just fall to the downside. But of course, there's numerous levels you can take your profits at. There's this low here, important level. Obviously the low here as well is important, and obviously the weekly low down there. But that's the plan going into next week for pound NZD. Okay, so over to CAD Yen, our second yen pair we're going to be taking a look at today. So CAD Yen still bearish bias, similar to USD JPY. You can see the lower lows and lower highs. It's still very present in the market structure. So as a person who uses market structure to develop my bias and my direction, obviously I'm going to be looking for some shorts until we break that structure. So take out these key highs here. If we start breaking through these highs, I'll look for the reversal and start to, reanalyze the market. But for now, the lower highs are still intact, so I'm looking at shorts. I still do have that higher time frame level on the weekly, so very similar to USD JPY, very similar setup. So again, if you are looking at the JPY pairs, just pick one and trade that one, whichever looks the best for you, because most likely they all can do the exact same thing. So don't need to add the extra risk, just find the best trade and take advantage of the opportunity. But we're also looking at 93 down here. We can still see the lower lows and lower highs the market is giving us. I'm looking at one more push to the upside because we've had some new lows recently, taking out this low here. So I'm looking at just one more push to the upside, back into the resistance, back into that trend line. Lovely confluence in that area. We'll wait for some rejection for some more shorts to the downside. Again, targets right back down at these lows, and then looking at the weekly level down here at 93. So again, very simple opportunity, but opportunity of high confidence and high probability. Again, as long as we don't break through the structure, most likely we're going to come up into these areas and fall over. There's a chance that we might not get there. We might start forming resistance and roll over, so we might have to adapt to that. But this is definitely the place for me anyway with the most confidence. So that's why I'll be looking to see if CAD JPY can get up into, respect that area around 98, nice psychological level as well, and then get the move to the downside into these lows here at 94.848, and then potentially might push the trade a little bit further into 93 and leave some positions to run to trickle into that area. But in terms of bias and everything, definitely look at shorts. You can see the clear structure here with us, so just looking for the next pullback and the next bearish leg. So that will be the plan for next week for CAD Yen. Okay, so now over to Pound USD. So Pound USD still pretty corrective, but still trending to the upside. I'm still looking at Pound USD taking out these highs here. We've come really close this week, but I still do think there's more upside to be had. So with Pound USD, I'm not looking too much here. I'm just looking at buys until we break through those, take out these highs, and then potentially might be in another correctional phase of the downside, retracement. Then we might buy it back up again at a later date. But I'm looking to see if we can get one more drive to the downside for Pound USD. We've had nice impulse, markets a little bit sideways. So hopefully you can get another push to the downside, form the next higher low, and then get the push to go and take out those highs and just maintain that bullish structure. I'm looking at this area, some really nice confluence there. We've also got the doji, big break to the upside for all that momentum, strong support, and also with that trend line there as confluence. So there's a high probability we will take out those highs. There's a chance that we could just break to the upside and go and take them out, so that could invalidate the setup. But as long as we don't take out those highs, we fall to the downside first. That's the important thing. Not take out the highs and then come down. Reason being, we've taken out liquidity and now the market can have that deep retracement. So hopefully the market doesn't do that. It falls to the downside first, then takes the highs, and then takes the bigger retracement later down. So that's the plan there for Pound USD. Target area at 1.22800. We'll look for confirmation around here to buy out, probably in that hourly time frame. And again, back into the resistance there as targets to take up those highs. So a smaller trade here, not a bigger swing trade, but that's the best opportunity I can see with Pound USD, because again, the higher time frame structure is still pretty bullish. So if you are looking for bigger swings, you do want to see the market obviously have a bigger retracement phase. But right now, we can take advantage of the current market structure, the current opportunity. And I do see some new highs past 1.24400 next week. So hopefully you can get a pullback before that and then get some nice buys later on in the week. So that's the plan there for Pound USD. Okay, so now on to Pound CAD. So Pound CAD this week broke to the upside. Again, the bearish structure did not hold. As we can see, we had this bearish structure, it was very corrective. So similar to NZD CAD, we were getting signs that the market was having trouble at these areas. Nonetheless, we still had some nice structure come into this area. Did respect it briefly, broke through pretty early on the week. So now that we've got this bullish structure found, and again, similar impulsive leg here to the upside, this looks to be the correctional phase. So now we're looking at another impulse to move back to the highs, maybe even higher as well. So all we need to do is just look for pullbacks to buy it back up again, essentially for Pound CAD. So this is really the main area I'm looking at for Pound CAD. You know, these areas down here, the market can pull back to these areas. That'd be very nice because there's not too much there. Maybe if you go to the lower time frames, there might be some areas of value. But for me, I'm looking at bigger retracements, as we had this lovely impulsive leg, Now it looks like we're getting our retracement to buy it back up again. Targets probably will just be back at the highs there. There's no real need to hit the home run all the way back to these highs. Pretty long distance. You probably could still get decent risk rewards, buying down at these levels here around 1.64600. Take advantage of some buys there and just take it back to highs and still get, very favorable risk rewards. If you want to, feel free, but obviously there's a higher risk of the market coming up to some areas and turning back to your entry price as well. So that's the target I'll have for the week if I do get into any pound CAD longs, 1.66840. But yeah, in terms of bias, definitely bullish. Nice bullish structure, really nice impulsive phase. So now we're just looking for the correction onto an area of value, which I'm looking at 1.645 at this area here. Then yeah, buys back into the resistance, into the prior highs at 1.668 for next week. Okay, so now on to pound yen. So pound yen this week did see some nice upside back into some strong resistance, rejected that level, and now we're back there again. I still do have a bearish bias with pound yen. We're still trading underneath this very, very key weekly level. As we can see here, numerous wick rejections all across this area. Wick. So as you guys can see, now we're back into that as resistance. Strong bullish close, but as long as we don't break through, I'm still bearish bias. So I still do see pound yen falling to the downside, and now we're trading back at a very key resistance. This is where we want to be placing our shorts. The market is indeed going to go bullish. I expect a break through this area like so, break through that resistance, come back and retest it, and then we can look for the reversal back to the upside. But as long as we don't break through this area, I'm still bearish bias with pound yen. So basically just waiting for good rejection up at these areas and looking for the sells for next week. If we do break through, then we'll wait for the retest. If we don't, then I'll anticipate it being a false breakout for us to come back underneath and fall to the downside. But as long as we don't have the retest to continue off the level, we'll be looking for some sells, and again targets basically right back down at these lows. So pound yen, again looking for sells. I do favor other yen pairs. CAD yen and USD do look a little bit better than this one, but again we're still trading at key areas here at 160, 161. So as long as we don't break through these levels, I will still have the bearish bias expecting us to roll over. Again, in terms of targets, there's this critical low here, could be a nice little place to bank some profit. Coming to this area here, that could be a nice place to bank some profit. So don't necessarily have to look for the huge swing to the downside. That's like 500 pips from there to there. So you can look to take a profit beforehand and exit the trade. Don't necessarily have to hold it the full way. But yeah, that definitely will be the plan there for pound yen. And if we break to the upside, we'll look for the retest to actually go the opposite direction and take some buys for the longs. But for me, for now, still sticking with the bearish bias since we haven't broken through any major structure. And we'll be looking for some more downside and targets for the buys. I will be saying just previous support, turned resistance, because we did break through for a lot of momentum, never actually came back to revisit that area. So 164 could be a nice little target for the buys, but for now, focus on the sells. Next main target for me is all the way back down there at 155,500. Okay, so now on to gold. So gold this week still pretty bullish. It was a little bit sideways for most of the week, but we are still bullish, still creating higher highs and higher lows. And just before the week ended, we did see some new highs past this point here. So again, nothing really has changed for my bias for gold. I'm still pretty bullish on this one. You can see in the higher time frames all this momentum over the past few weeks, and we have broken through some key areas of resistance on the daily chart. We broke through this level quite a while ago, again this level here, and now it looks like we are breaking through this key level here as well. Prior resistance turned support. Looks like the market's breaking through that. So I do have the next target for gold back at 1960. Looks like gold is slowly working its way to 2K and maybe beyond that as well. So basically I'm just looking for pullbacks for this one to buy it back up. Right now the market is quite corrective, so I wouldn't expect too crazy pullbacks from gold. But if we can get a bigger pullback, I will be very, very happy indeed to buy from some deeper areas. Now that we've created new highs, this area is now of interest to me. Even the consolidation back down here as well, trading at 1875, 1880. But for me, just looking for the pullbacks to buy it back up again. There might be some sells for gold, take advantage of the retracement, but as a trend trader, someone who follows structure, I'm always going to be looking for buys until structure breaks. And back at 1960 will be the target. So Gold's looking for a pullback. We'll be looking at 1900, nice key psychological level, which trades on this support level with that trendline confluence. And then if you do pull it back a little bit deeper, not to worry, I'm still looking at 1880, 1875 for second area. If we start breaking through both these areas, that's when I'll start looking for the shorts, because we had a big breaker structure at that point. I'll look for the pullback for the reversal. But for now, still very focused on the buys for gold. So if I don't target the highs, I'll be targeting 1960. Depends on risk reward and the entry and everything. But that's where I do see price going for gold medium to long term. So that's the plan for gold. Wait for some pullbacks, 1900, 1875. And then, yeah, we'll look for some entry confirmations to buy gold back up again. Okay, so Bitcoin looking very, very bullish, breaking through that resistance there. We had a lot of wicks around this area here on the daily chart, but the market did not hold that area. And we had a huge bullish candle there on Friday breaking through. So that first area didn't hold at 21K. Still do have the second area up here, which is where I'm looking for that lower high to form. So as long as we can as long as we can respect this level here at 24K, 24,500, the shorts for me are still on. The market overall was quite corrective, but I'm looking at this kind of channel the market is falling in, and coming to that 24K is where I do think we can form that next major low swing high for a move back down again. Still, for me, it's too early doors to signify if Bitcoin is back on that bullish run. We haven't broken through any major structure yet. So Bitcoin for me, 24K is the next key area of value. Again, for me, I'm mainly focused on Bitcoin in the daily and the 4H time frame. I'm not really going lower than that. So we'll monitor what happens around this here in the 4H. Then there you can start looking for some entries to take advantage of a move back down. Risk reward is looking very, very healthy for a push back down into the lows and maybe even further into the 12, 13K mark. So keep an eye out on this area if you're really looking to trade Bitcoin for some sell confirmations. If we start breaking through that, then potentially, yes, Bitcoin could be on a bigger bullish run. But again, if you do zoom out, look at the higher time frames, weekly, if you go to the weekly chart, you know, Bitcoin can still technically come up and retest these structures up here and still be on a decline to the downside. If you look at the main, what's going on here? If you're looking at the main swing highs and swing lows for gold, you know, we've had this key high over here, key low, key high. We've broken through that structure, given that breaker structure. So technically speaking, Bitcoin can have a deeper pullback. If you do whip out the Fibonacci, you know, 50% is all the way up there. Technically, you can still come up into those areas and still have a decline. If we do that, I probably would expect to see Bitcoin start pushing to the upside again after that, but there are still some key short areas to the upside for Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be too excited and start looking to buy at the highs. You definitely want price to come back down again. So Bitcoin looking at 24K, we'll see what happens there on the 4H in terms of rejection, everything. We're not quite there yet, but could be some big sales coming up for Bitcoin. Okay, so finally onto our bonus pair for the week, which is NZD JPY. So another JPY pair against all bearish buys with the JPY pairs. I am looking at NZD JPY coming into a very critical area. If I flick to the weekly time frame real quick, you can see we do have a lot of wicks up here. We've had this week candle, this bullish candle, big wick to the upside. Last week, nice little wick, and a couple weeks ago before that, you can see big wick to the upside as well, and some few wicks there as well. So this 84,500 region is a very important area for NZD JPY. If we break through this, we well and truly could be just be on for another bullish run back to the highs, because if you do zoom out, the market is in a uptrend, as you can see. So we can still see a push to the upside if we do break above this 84,500. Strong daily close above, start looking for the pullbacks in the 4H and the lower time frames the following day. However, as right now, the market is still respecting it very, very well. So if you do come into this level here, I would imagine for next week's candle to open, give us another wick into this area, like so, another wick to the upside into that level, and then by the end of the week, pull back down and give us a bearish candle like so. Again, it might not be bearish all the way back down to there, it might be a slight bearish candle, might even be a doji, but I do imagine for another wick to print into this area here. And this gives us very, very good areas to short the market, basically. If we're going to anticipate a wick there on the weekly, like what we can expect the following week is a push to the upside. We can pinpoint some areas of resistance on the 4H. So I move this out of the way. We can pinpoint this area here and just refine the zone a little bit better. 84,500. Monitor this area here for some sells. We see some good rejection around here. Stop loss above. and then we'll imagine a push to the downside and give us that wick on the weekly. And if we're lucky, we could catch a really big run to the downside into these lows here. As we can see from this area, a lot of downside momentum is present. Could see another one to the downside as well, all the way back to 81,500. So that's the plan for NZJPY. Looking at shorts from 84,500. Like I said, if it does break through, we see a strong daily close above, then we might actually have a breakout, and then we can just look for the buys to the upside. So again, not trying to be too what's the word? Too trustworthy of the bias. The bias is there, which is to the downside because we haven't broke through the level yet, but we need to be able to pivot and not just marry a bias. The market doesn't have to go down, doesn't have to go up. If it does break to the upside, more than happy to change the bias, take advantage of the buys. As long as we can get a good trading opportunity, that's all we're after. Don't really care about direction. We just want a good trading opportunity. And as of right now, the market's still below. So we're looking at sales naturally. If it breaks through, we'll flip the bias and take advantage of the bias in the opposite direction. But that's what I'll be looking for. NZJPY, waiting for a little bit more upside into 84.5. And I'll see what type of price action we can get. And yeah, targets, just kind of playing the range really back down to the lows at 81,500. So that's the plan for the bonus pair next week. We'll keep an eye on this one. But yeah, guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it, found it very, very useful. If you have, please let me know down in the comments. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like. It does really help out the channel. Subscribe if you haven't done it already, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or any videos in the future. But thank you so much for watching the channel, guys, watching the videos. I do really appreciate it. Have a great one. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one.